I'm Jonna Lang, and today we're going to talk about the issue of African Americans and voting, specifically the 24th Amendment and the Mississippi Freedom Summer. As we know, African Americans have been fighting for civil rights since the 1800s, but the issue has become more prominent in recent years with the Brown versus Board of Education ruling in 1954, the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, and the case of the Little Rock Nine in 1957. However, several events within the first 3 years of the 1960s have led up to the 24th Amendment and Mississippi Freedom Summer. In 1960, four college students in Greensboro, North Carolina, staged sit-ins at a Woolworth's lunch counter. The sit-ins progressively became larger and larger, increasing from 4 to 15 to 300 to 1,000 students at the lunch counter. In 1961, the Freedom Riders, African American and Caucasian volunteers, took buses into the South to test new desegregation laws. They were often met with tremendous violence by white protesters. In 1961, the Freedom Riders, African American and Caucasian volunteers, took buses into the South to test new desegregation laws. They were often met with tremendous violence by white protesters. In 1962, President Kennedy sent 5,000 federal troops to Mississippi to allow James Meredith, the school's first African American, to attend. Meredith graduated with a degree in political science the following year. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, aka the SCLC, focused on segregation in Birmingham, Alabama, with peaceful protests that ended in violence, riots, and arrests. In August of 1963, Dr. King made his powerful I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C. Two of the most significant events were the stand in the schoolhouse doorway and the bombing in Birmingham. In the stand in the schoolhouse door, Governor George Wallace stood in the doorway of Foster Auditorium at the University of Alabama to prevent two African Americans from enrolling. Wallace promised segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. At the bombing in Birmingham, 4 young girls were killed at the 16th Street Baptist Church. A KKK member was seen planting a bomb. The member was arrested and found guilty of possessing dynamite without a permit and fined $1,000 and sentenced 6 months in jail. Let's hear from our news reporter, Belle Castro, as she interviews two citizens with opposing views on the topic of voting.
Thanks, Jonna. I'm here in Brookside with two very different people who have two very different opinions. One, Adrina, is a civil rights activist, and two, Isabella, who's a civil rights non-supporter. So I'm here with Adrina, who's a civil rights activist. Adrina, what do you think about the Voting Rights Act for African Americans?
I think that it's a good thing for African Americans to have equal rights because they're one of the same and we're all the same.
Very nice, very nice. So as a civil rights activist, what exactly did you do during the Mississippi Freedom Summer?
During the Mississippi Summer, I registered 25 African American voters, and altogether in the state of Mississippi, we registered 300 legal African American voters.
So that's quite a large number.
It's a great improvement.
So now I'm here with Isabella, who claims to be a non-supporter in civil rights. So what do you think about civil rights and the Voting Act?
Well, I personally think that they shouldn't get the right to vote without conditions because before they had to pass the literacy test and the reading test, and some of them don't know how to do that. So how are they supposed to be voting for the next president? And how are they supposed to be voting for laws that are for all of us?
Okay. And what do you think about the Mississippi Summer Act?
Well, I was against it, and so were most of my neighbors, so we had huge protests against them, and yep.
And do you feel there's a divide between American citizens and all of this debate going on?
Yes, because a lot of us don't think that they should have the right to vote, and some of us do think that they should get to vote. So there is a huge divide going across the country.
Very nice, very nice.
America!
Wow, those are two very, very, very different interviews. So, Jonathan, tell me, what do you think about the divide? How do you feel about all this crazy civil rights stuff going on?
Well, I think there is a big divide right now in America, and it's really sad that we all can't come to one agreement on the subject.
Yes, totally, Jonah. I understand where you're coming from. I see. Well, let's take this back to you. Catch you later on News 10.
As you can see, there's a multitude of perspectives on the subject matter of African Americans in voting. we will see more civil rights in the future. Thank you to Bel Castro, Adrina Tabarez, and Isabella Bautista for their interviews and their participation. Catch us next week on News 10.